what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to The Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by national champion, a gentleman and a scholar, Marcus Myers, a part of the On Texas Football family, and, of course, our own coach, former high school football coach at Bernie Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan. Also played college football at Abilene Christian, coach there as well, and now is on the staff. Now you can catch his work at shipleyranches.com. He was also on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. The man's got a resume that I just can't do justice to. Our own coach, Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, Rod. How you doing, man? I'm looking forward to this cold front coming in and looking forward to a little football and DKR, baby.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Oh, yeah, that's right. We've been talking a lot about football at DKR, guys. Of course, we're basically kind of doing in-game, our own live watch with the Cowboys game. We understand Cowboys game is on, so y'all probably watching us with the Cowboys. We appreciate it. So watching a little bit of the Cowboys, so we can talk a little bit about that. I did hear that Jaden Blue wasn't playing, so he's not playing in the game, and they already got somebody ejected. Jalen Carter for the Eagles already got ejected, so there's already drama going on. So we can get into that, but let's also talk about the drama on the 40 acres having to do with the it's crazy to say it. 0-1 Texas Longhorns going up against the San Jose State team. I want to get into this, guys, and talk about that. Sark spoke to the media today with a media Zoom. We'll get into that too. But first subject I want to talk about is the ratings that came out yesterday. You know, we talked about the arch bump, Coach, a little bit, but it could be. Sark mentioned last year, I think Texas averaged 8 million viewers or something like that. That arch, I don't even know if it's the arch bump because you also got Ohio State. They're their own blue blood, defending national champion. So they had a lot to do with it too. It was just a sexy matchup all around. But guys, 16.6 million viewers for that Texas-Ohio State game when it was all said and done. Our man John Bianco put out a good stat, said 4 of the last 5 games for Texas football have drawn at least 16 million viewers. All totaled, 80 million have tuned into those 5 games for the Longhorns. Texas' last 4 games of the 2024 numbers. Ohio State, 20.6 million. Arizona State, 17.3 million. Georgia, 16.6. Clemson, 8.9. And then, of course, this last number, a monster number, 16.6. What are your thoughts, Coach? I mean, that's not just the arch bump. That's Ohio State, too. But, man, that's a lot of folks tuning in to watch Texas, or to watch Texas lose, or to watch Texas win. I'm sure it was both.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it has to do with arch, but also just the hype that this Texas team has gotten preseason. You know, from early winter, late winter, all the way till the season opener. You know, that's all everybody could talk about, and it was the Longhorns #1 and arch, and the first time Texas, I think, has gone into the season ranked #1. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy to think, but yeah, I just think all the hype and it wasn't the game that a lot of people thought they were going to tune in to see, game of the century and all that stuff. You know, it was a great battle, but it wasn't necessarily, I would say, a great entertaining game.
Yeah. Marcus, what are your thoughts? I kind of agree. I don't know if it was because I think Texas didn't do their part offensively for 3 quarters in terms of the passing game, and then Ohio State really played like keep away for a lot of the game. They had a little conservative approach, played a lot of 12 personnel. I mean, they didn't throw it a lot. I think they threw it, I want to say the numbers like 12 times in the last like 39 minutes of the game, something freaky like that. Marcus, what are your thoughts about it?
I mean, I agree with you both. I think you nailed a piece of it, Rod. I think, these days we get quite a bit of hate watching, whether, we like it or not, it still counts as views. There's a lot of folks that, are interested to see what happens with Texas and, whether or not they have some extra noise that they can talk about, whether their team is truly relevant or not. So I think that'll just kind of be par for the course, along with, some of the arch bump and then just the matchup in general. And then you'll have, a segment of folks, on both sides of the spectrum will be watching some, Michigan and that other school, on Saturday for kind of the same reasons. So,
yeah. No, look, that's the Cowboys too, though, right? I mean, we literally talk about the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys always have the largest viewership numbers in the NFL. It ain't because they win a lot of games all the time, or they're just have a championship pedigree or anything like that lately. It's because they're entertaining and people hate watch. Like you're talking about, a lot of hate watching going on with the Dallas Cowboys. Even Cowboys fans hate watch the Cowboys because they hate Jerry Jones but love their Cowboys. No, Jeff is not. We probably should have Jeff come on days where we're going to be on when the Cowboys are playing and have Jeff just come on and rage watch with us because he just Jeff Howe is a Cowboys fan, but he don't like Jerry like most of y'all. But he loves his Cowboys. So
he's got to get like me. He's got to figure out how to disassociate. Like I'm a traditional Cowboys fan, but they don't spike my blood pressure anymore. So
okay, that's what it is. So you are a Cowboys fan then?
I am. It's one of those things. Pops was a Cowboys fan. I left for a while, and then I was like, man, I'm gonna come back, and it just, Can
I ask you about? Tell me about Micah there real quick before we get back into Texas. Give me your thoughts on the Micah thing. Just real quick, as a Cowboys fan, an educator.
I'm not surprised by it. And then knowing David was a classmate of mine when I was in Texas. Mm-hmm. So I just, I felt pretty confident. A lot of what I was hearing Jerry say never came out of David's mouth. And you see the end result, right? Like I think it could have been handled better, but Jerry's going to do what Jerry's going to do. So.
When he kept calling him Michael, I was like, nah, something's up here. Why do you keep calling him Michael? I know somebody's corrected you saying, you know you're calling him Michael, right? You calling him Michael. It's Micah. I was like, something's up there. Yeah, I'm a Texans fan, so I ain't talking a lot of trash, but I would say Texans right now might be a better football organization than the Cowboys are right now. Cowboys are definitely a more entertaining television product. I don't give you on that because y'all got drama and then y'all got all this other stuff. Y'all got Micah drama, and then there's always Dak drama, and then y'all like the drama. Y'all like TNT. And the Texans don't got that much drama. But in terms of just winning football games, and the Texans are right now up there with the Cowboys, if not better.
And I'm a secondary Texan now because of Rod and Frank. So,
Hey, that's right. They're getting that D-line right over there. We're getting that D-line right. Yeah. For those who know, Rod Wright is a D-line coach, and him and Frank Okam over there. I think he's assistant D-line coach.
Yeah, he's assistant D-line coach.
Texans, so that's good stuff. All right, let's get back to the Longhorns here. Cowboys up 7-0 on the Eagles, so Cowboys fans should feel happy about that. Let's talk about something interesting because my man Bobby Burton reported this earlier today. And it's good news for all Longhorn fans out there. And I think this will lead us to a discussion that Jonah Williams is back on the practice field and could see action this weekend. Now, he may or may not see action this weekend, but definitely in these next, 3 games coming up, we expect, to see a guy like Jonah Williams and other, really talented young products, Coach, because the expectation is Texas will kind of boat race these teams and get a big lead early on. If they get a big lead early on, then you can see a lot of these young prospects and even Sark. They actually asked Sark today at the media, the Zoom, I think the Zoom availability that he has about what young players that he wanted to see. And even Sark got out there, started talking about some of the young players that he wanted to see. I want to ask you guys, what players, start with you, Coach, coming up this weekend, what young players would you like to see up in these games once obviously Texas gets a lead? And it can be young, maybe it's anybody. Who would you like to see coming up in this game versus San Jose State? Who are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm kind of looking for any wide receiver to step up, whether they're starting the game or coming in. But Khalil Lockett is a guy that is really has really been an interesting guy to follow to me. I would really like to see him, on the field, of course, along with Jamie French. Just it's going to be an opportunity for those guys to, to show what they can do. And we'll see if Mosley's going to be healthy and ready for action. But those guys are who I'm looking forward to seeing once the game is out of hand. But I'm also wanting to see, obviously how Arch responds, and see how he gets settled into this game. And I'm sure he's, disappointed in the way that some of his mechanics and things kind of went off the charts. But it was a good learning game for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he responds to that.
Yeah. That's good. This is for those who I think this is Jonah Williams' high school film here. And as Bobby Burton reported earlier today, he's back practicing, and if all goes well, he may even see some action this weekend, along with a lot of other young players. And that's kind of the conversation we're talking about here. Marcus, what are your thoughts? What young players you're looking forward to seeing this weekend?
Interestingly enough, Rod, one of the guys I've been thinking a lot about is Murad Watson. And I know he's not super young, right? But he's a freshman All-American before he, came to Texas. And just wanting to see a little bit of the goal line, stands tightened up, and looked like he got washed down a couple of times on some of those plays. Just want to see kind of how he bounces back and how he continues to develop. And then I think I mentioned this on one of, the conversations we were having. And I think Derek's even talking about the young DBs here. I noticed seeing Xavier Filsaime out there a few times at Ohio.
Did. Yes.
And I was impressed that, someone, of his kind of youth and inexperience, the coaches trusted him to get on the field in that kind of a spot. And it wasn't just, to be a gunner or kick it. I mean, he was in there on legit defensive snaps.
Yep, he was.
Curious to kind of see how they continue to develop. Offensive side of the ball, I'm with Coach. Any of the younger wide receivers, honestly. Like, I just kind of want to see some guys, step it up. I had a chance to meet McCutcheon's parents. And, I thought it was really cool that he got in the game at Ohio State. And, I think I even heard Sark say in one of the availabilities that, if they had to count on another player to come in the game at the wide receiver position at Ohio State, it would have been Niblett. So, he was just saying the other guys weren't ready. So I think these next few games will be an opportunity, for them to step up and hopefully be able to get in those rotations where they're a bit more trusted.
Yeah, Daley McCutcheon had a really nice first down catch in the Ohio State game. But you're right. I saw Filsaime. I actually went back and I was like, who is that? Number 7 ended up being Xavier Filsaime out there. So I'm with you. The young, I'm a little biased, but the young DBs. Thank you, Sarah. I should say that. Hit the subscribe to as well. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. We appreciate you guys and all your support. If you have questions, throw them out there. We'll try to answer questions and address comments as well. CB says Justice Terry is a young player that he's looking forward to seeing. Yeah, there's so many guys. You probably can go through. Probably can go through probably 20 guys if you just go through all the positions of young players, not necessarily starters, that you would like to see in some, in a larger sample size in this game. When Sark was asked about it, the freshmen he mentioned were Daley McCutcheon, who you mentioned as well, Nick Brooks, Nick Townsend, and Lance Jackson. Lance Jackson played a lot and early.
Yeah.
It feels to me the new X-Man this time on the D. That'd be nice. D starts doing the X when he makes a play out there. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, Lance Jackson played early though. I was a little surprised how early. And I thought I saw Zena out there a little early too. On some of those defensive line packages. I thought I saw him on actually one of the NASCAR packages.
Okay.
Saw Zena out there. Second year guys, mentioned Filsaime is what Sark mentioned. Christian Clark, he also mentioned Jerry Gibson and Kobe Black. The running backs are going to be, I think, something that could be showcased in this game, the depth at the running back position as well in this matchup, because they have terrible rush defense. Sounds like they said, I don't know if Sark just wants to run it down their throat, but they allowed damn near 200-yard rushers in their last game versus Central Michigan, and they allowed, I think, almost 250 rushing yards all total. So Texas should be able to just run the football against them, but you need your quarterback, as Coach said, to get some work. So you need Arch to get some work. We'll talk about Arch here in just a second, but someone here should mention Grayson Littleton for Thorpe. Burn Orange Horn says, I don't know if, even Sark mentioned this, guys, earlier today, to get back to some of Sark's comments too. He was asked about Grayson Littleton, and almost, he said basically to everyone else, this was a surprise, but I kept bringing up Grayson Littleton as a guy who was consistently performing for us during fall camp. And he also would only say for that guy in that environment in his first game to play the amount of snaps he played at critical moments, some critical third down plays, third down stops, tackles, very impressed by him. I think we all were. That I will admit, I would ask you, Marcus, about it. Honestly, did he might have had, I know Lung LaFau had a great performance too, but considering he's a true freshman, I don't know if any defender stood out as much as Grayson Littleton did, considering he was a true freshman on that big stage.
On that big stage against that big receiver, right? I ain't gonna lie. You know, the one play, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Littleton. It might have been Gilbo, but the play where they didn't look his way and he was wide open, that was honestly something I was thinking, okay, if that's Littleton making that play, I can understand it, right? Like, he's a young guy out there covering arguably the best player in college football right now. And to make those type of plays without, getting panicking, as you would say, Rod, in some of those situations, getting too handsy and just, being right on the spot, man. I mean, he was killing it out there. So, yeah, I mean, he sounds as advertised. And, not only Sark, but anytime you ask any of the players, I mean, they're all like, we've seen him do this from day one. So we knew he would be ready. Yeah,
they said during the spring, Coach, he was doing that when he came in early. Like, he's been balling ever since he got to Texas. I talked to Coach Aquino about him. Coach Aquino said, "Yeah, it's real. Like, it's not hype. He's the real deal." And Coach, you watched him out there. What are your thoughts when a true freshman is that consistent, that early on? And what does that mean for the trajectory of this young man?
We kept hearing the talk about him. We kept hearing, first day at training camp, he was running with the ones some, and I just really had a hard time imagining that, with this much talent as we have back there, having a true freshman come in against the defending national champions in the opening game of the season, play at the level that he played. That's just amazing. And, just pray he stays healthy, and younger guys will see that and realize that just because you're a freshman doesn't mean you can't go out and contribute. If you put in the work and you make the plays in practice and you take care of your business, they're going to play you, and you'll have your shot. And he definitely took advantage of the big stage.
I got to go. I'm working on my master list of my DBU rankings. I'm going to try to figure out how many young DBs got starts as a true freshman at the star position. And then the trajectory of them all, because it ain't many that can just do that. And I know he didn't officially start, but at one point he will this year. He'll get a start as a true freshman at that position. Now Texas has 3 starting safeties, which also was revealed in that game too, and they go with. And now I think you got 3 starting corners with Gilbo Muhammad and also now Grayson Littleton. Maybe you throw Kobe Black in there. That secondary is looking deep. And now you're adding a Jonah Williams to the mix and them young bucks. That secondary is looking as deep as it has in a long time. All right, let's thank the sponsor before we move on. We'll answer some questions. We'll also get to some of the comments from Sark at the Zoom availability that he had. But let's thank our friends first over at Von Lane before we move on. We appreciate our friends at Von Lane. Not only did our friends at Von Lane help help us travel from city to city during our Texas tour with our friends over at Third and Longhorn, which we appreciate very much. They can help you do the same. They can help you travel to any of the major Texas cities, whether it be Houston or Dallas or Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin. They do a fantastic job. I've taken the Von Lane myself several times, and my wife has taken it as well for business and to go visit family. It is great. The most luxurious way to travel, all right, to any major city here in this region. They keep expanding their blueprint. So if you're trying to, travel to any of these cities and you're trying to, obviously travel by plane, that can be very stressful because you got to deal with the airport chaos and the stress of the airport experience, hoping your flight isn't delayed. If you try to drive, well, that's a whole nother stress level because you got to deal with traffic jams and road rage, and then you lose the entire day of productivity driving back and forth. Folks, the third option is a much better option. It's Von Lane. The Von Lane, folks, is a luxurious travel experience. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into one of 22 oversized first-class plush leather seats with 140-degree recline, leg rest, and a cabin attendant serving complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if you like. If you need to relax, you can simply just lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, that's easy too. There's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. Now, fall travel is booking fast, so reserve your spot now for October trips to Texas versus OU or You can also reserve your spot for F1 and ACL in Austin, or college football weekends in Nashville, Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville now, Atlanta, Memphis, Knoxville as well, the Woodlands, Texas, also Plano, Texas as well. They keep adding more and more cities to this list. Visit vonlane.com. Use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. That's Von Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. All right, thank you very much to our friends at Von Lane. Really appreciate them and all of their support. A couple of questions here. Let's get to it. Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. How about this? Alex says, any thoughts on who the second QB in the game is this weekend? Maybe KJ Lacey over Trey and Matthew Caldwell? Ooh, what are your thoughts, Coach? Thoughts about the backup QB position? That's right. This actually still can be settled in these 3 games.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think you're going to see KJ. I think you're going to see Caldwell. You know, I haven't talked to anybody inside the program, but it sounds like that it's a fluid situation. You know, and it's something that is probably going to be settled on the field, honestly. And these next 3 games are great games to do that, to get those guys in the fourth quarter and part of the third quarter, hopefully, and hopefully let a guy get in there and get some rhythm. And not just have to go in a series or maybe 2 and come out. Let them all in these next 3 games have an opportunity to play and get that worked out, because it's if history repeats itself, you're going to need those guys. And so we need to settle it early, and the schedule is very friendly for us to be able to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Marcus, what are your thoughts about the backup QB position? I would just say this. When I got a chance to see KJ Lacey a few times, like out at practice, or just, obviously getting a chance behind the scenes to talk to folks about KJ Lacey, he is a pure passer. Like he's got something special about him in terms of, him as a improvisational passer as well, if that's how you want to describe it. I heard CJ talking about it like he's a basketball player, so there's this kind of point guard-esque way he plays the game in terms of the way he distributes the ball and the way that he uses his improv ability. And I think, that's something that stood out to the coaches, because his name comes up. His name comes up a lot for a freshman, and he's little dude, Mark. I don't know if you say he's a little dude, man. But that's it. Everybody behind the scenes have kind of raved about the young man. What are your thoughts about the backup quarterback competition?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'll answer this with some ignorance. Is it still such that they can play 4 games in shirt?
Yeah.
Because I would think they would probably still want to hold on to KJs if they can.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm not saying that he needs to play right. I'll be a backup or even win. I'm just saying, like, I've heard that the young man could be special. Right.
And I'm with you. You're right. The times I've been out there, he's one of the smaller ones in stature, but you've heard some of the comparisons to a prior Sark, QB and Bryce Young. Yeah. If I had to guess, I would think maybe Trey would be first off the bench. To some degree, they kind of, maybe have a sense of what Caldwell can do, because at least he's put some reps together prior to being at Texas. But kind of like Coach said, I would expect they would probably all get some opportunity in these next few games. And certainly, you would want to take control early enough in the game to make sure that they have that opportunity. So I think you'll see a little bit of all of them. And then hopefully over the course of these next few games, you have a lot more clarity as you're heading into SEC play.
Matthew Caldwell looked like he was the front runner, to be the backup once the training camp was done. Like I said, and Sark has admitted it's still an ongoing competition. I just say he looked like he was leading the competition.
Yeah, and it's an interesting conversation, right? Because it comes down to then, like, what's the approach that Sark's take? Does he feel that a Caldwell would need more reps, or is he a little more confident in what he can do, even though he hasn't played in live bullets, with Texas yet? Does he want to, get a longer look at the other guys that don't have as much in-game experience, period? So I could see you going either way with it.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with that, though. If you feel like you've already seen what you need to see from a QB, give another guy some of those reps and see if they can improve on some of those aspects of their game you've been coaching them up on. We shall see. I mean, that's actually one of the biggest question marks about the San Jose State game. Who's going to come off the bench once Arch, is done for the day? Hopefully that is sooner rather than later, which means Arch performed and the team performed really well. Speaking of Arch, let's get to this question here. I think this will lead us into that conversation from Derek here. He says, let's get a heavy dose of Washington and Townsend on Saturday. He's talking about tight end, Jordan Washington and Nick Townsend. Can I just say this about 12 personnel from the Ohio State game? And I don't want to overreact to it, but the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but I think you should play less 12 and more 21. You didn't play any 21, no pony package at all versus Ohio State. But your 12 personnel, from what I tracked, did very little for you, little to nothing for you. Little to nothing in the passing game, and it didn't juice your running game at all. Like it used to. Last year, you were averaging more yards per rush out of 12, which made sense because it juices your running game, and having that extra blocker, another gap, another hat in the run game, numbers on your side. It didn't against Ohio State. Not saying it won't against San Jose State, because I think it will. But I think if you're trying to get some of your best players on the field, your best 11, 21 does that more so than 12. And I know Sark loves 12. He loves one back, two tight ends, 35% of the time on average. He's playing 12 personnel. So that's one of his babies behind 11 personnel. It's his second most utilized personnel grouping. But 21 personnel works. I've been tracking it for years. It is easily the most effective, explosive, and efficient personnel grouping that Texas uses. They just don't use it a lot, especially last year. They didn't use it as much because they had injuries at running back. But I don't know. I think 12 personnel this year, unless Washington or Townsend are able to step up and supplement some of the production and add some more juice to it, I think you should maybe add a little bit more 21 to that mix. Not saying give up on 12, just a little bit more 21, a little less 12 to try to help you add some more explosivity to the offense, because 12 was a waste, I'm not going to lie, versus Ohio State. You got nothing out of it. It gave you nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I can't wait to see that package. I mean, you've got, C.J. Baxter is obviously ahead of schedule. I was surprised to see him play as much as he did Saturday, even though I think he was on a pitch count. But he looked good. But then, you put he and Trey together in the backfield, and that is an explosive backfield. But also, I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. What do you think about the idea or the take that Sark is not going to show too much in these next three games? What is he really going to show his hand in these next 3 games? Or if we see a lot of pony package, kind of makes you wonder if, is he doing that just to give people something to work on? And of course, I guess it assumes that, assuming that it's successful. But I just wonder if he's going to stay pretty plain vanilla these next 3 weeks, which is kind of, it's kind of a sharp edge there on either side. You want to get work, you want to work on what you're going to do, but at the same time, you want to go down to the swamp with your full arsenal available, and they may not be prepared for it because you haven't really shown it in the first 4 games.
That's a good point, Coach. And, honestly, what's interesting to me is even, watching the game, I was sitting when I was at the game in Columbus, we were kind of a little bit behind, where the players usually sit, or the players' families usually sit, just off from the band. So it's kind of in the corner, and you get to see, how the plays are developing from behind. And I know we always talk about when Sark's in his bag, and it's like he never really went into his bag against Ohio State. To your point, Rod, like he used 12 quite a bit, and maybe that was a protective thing, trying to give, Arch a little bit more time. But it's kind of hard to imagine, Coach, like you were saying, well, you didn't really pull out all the stops against Ohio State. Now, why are we going to do that all of a sudden against San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston? No disrespect to any of those schools, right? Okay. But I mean, realistically, you really shouldn't have to do that. Now, maybe a few wrinkles in your personnel groupings potentially, just to make them have to account for more bodies and players. But I have a tough time seeing them pull a whole lot out of the bag, if you will, for these next few opponents. And so that could make it a little tougher. But like we were talking about earlier, I was pretty shocked that we didn't pull out 21 against Ohio State, because I think you had some opportunities to get some plus players even in there, and even, throwing in a Christian Clark. I thought maybe he'd at least get like a quick little dump off or something, just see what he can do in space. So it'll be a very interesting approach. It may just be an expectation of, hey guys, we're not playing with any of the eye candy here. I expect you to go out and whip the man in front of you, and let's see what you can do. That's
why I love having Coach on, because I haven't heard anybody bring that up, and that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. We're thinking Sark's trying to get, he's obviously upset about the game and kind of upset about the way Arch played. So maybe in this game, I'm predicting a 50 burger. So maybe he's gonna kind of light it up a little bit, and he might still do that, but not with exotic concepts, not by going deep into his bag of tricks, which does include 21 personnel and lots of targets to motion and lots of misdirect. Like in that game, like people were like, "Oh, he doesn't have a lot of pre-snap motion." I was like, "Yeah, actually does." He was up to 70% pre-snap motion. What he was missing was misdirection with the pre-snap motion. It was just a guy moving, and that was it. Usually, he's got a guy motioning, then you got a lineman coming this way with the motion going that way, or he's got a motion going this way to another guy shifting this way, and then the flow of the play going that way. Like, that's the beauty of Sark's offense, and you're like, damn, I hate to be a linebacker watching all that, because that's unfair. And you didn't get that, and so. Some people say, like, now, Sark schemed it open, guys were open. I'm not saying guys weren't open. Guys were open, and Arch was a little off. But, guys, I have tracked it, and I'm not saying Sark was off. I'm just saying that game plan was uncharacteristic of Sark in a big game. Yeah. That's what I'll say. And I'm not saying that's the reason they lost or anything like that, but I'm telling you from somebody who tracks it, and I can sit here and give you a list of the reasons why. It was uncharacteristic of Sark in big-time games like this. And so, to your point, Mark, I'm not sure if he was say, you know what, we ain't got to do it. Maybe he wants to go out there and say, hey, we're going to beat them the way we want to beat them. We got this game plan, this style of play. I'm not going deep into the bag to do it. I'm not saying – I don't know that. Like, I don't know that. What I watched did not match what I tracked. On paper with Sark, and that's but like I said, they still had a chance to win the damn game. So even if Sark said, "Now I'm not gonna go deep into my bag, and we still gonna win it," hell, you probably should have. You outgained them. You know what I mean? If you don't have all the penalties in critical moments, you probably your quarterback plays just average instead of bad for 3 quarters. You probably do win that damn game, or he plays like he did in the fourth for the third and the fourth. You win that damn game. So. Maybe he was right about that. So maybe we got to wait till the Florida game is kind of what y'all said to see deep into the bag. We want to wait till they go to Gainesville.
You might have to go, Rod, and do a little tracking of the past few years of out of conference, non-big time games, and kind of get a sense of maybe what his personnel groupings were, and or like how explosive plays came about. Was it just a big play made because a guy beat a guy, or were they, actually schemed up?
Yeah.
To your point, last Thursday, that was what we were talking about before the game is, you were going through and showing how in all these different big games early on in the first quarter, early in the second quarter, there was, all the magic and all the stuff he's known for and the shots downfield and the whole nine. And you got to the game, you didn't see that. So,
yeah.
I also wonder, Rod, it'd be interesting to go back and track and look at last year and our quarterbacks when we were doing the misdirection and the motion and all that stuff, how often their back is turned to the defense. He might not have wanted Arch to be in that situation because, as you pointed out, Rod, in your research after the game, just how good Arch was on straight dropbacks when he didn't have his back to the defense, faking something. So I wonder if that was part of Sark's game plan, to make it as simple as possible for Arch not to throw too much motion and play action and all that stuff. Not only to protect Arch, but because you don't really know for sure. He didn't know what he was going to see from Matt Patricia. Yeah. If you've got a team pegged and you've got a lot of film on a defensive coordinator, you have you have a lot better chance of scheming up things that will work against them that you feel comfortable with your quarterback doing, and your quarterback feels comfortable doing it. I don't know that there's any way you could do that at Columbus on Saturday. I just think the unknown. I think Sark just played safe. He didn't want to get Arch in a bad situation. Didn't want to get him antsy, so he just played it straight. And I think as the season goes on, we'll probably see more and more of that added as Arch gets more comfortable back there in the pocket with the misdirection and play action and all those things.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, though, Coach, about it. And I'm glad you got us down this rabbit hole. I see a couple of interesting points in the chat. Bevo guy says, aren't coaches supposed to change it up for big games? Wills and Levers says, Rod, maybe Sark was breaking tendency. I know, and I do say to win big games, you got to break tendency, right? I always give examples about big games, you break tendency. Remember, Jim Knowles admitted last 2 plays that he threw out defensively against Texas, the turnover forced against Quinn down the goal line, and the play before that, he said, I had never played him all season long. Broke him out for the first time ever. They weren't on film. You couldn't prepare for it. All right, that's breaking tendency. Got to break tendency in a big game. Sark did break tendency a little bit, right? You had he went under center. He went under center 11 times. Mm-hmm. That's how we seen a Texas scene with Sark going to center that much.
But you had him at like 4, right, Rod?
Yeah, I said it was going to go like 4 or 5, and then I think y'all were like, "Yeah, that's a lot." Like, it was a lot, but I counted 11 times they was under center, so that was good. In terms of the other ways they broke tendency, they had a Y insert. You see how they kept using injuries? Did y'all see the kind of the Y insert they kept doing? They put them at fullback a couple of times. I thought that was, and they've done that before, but I thought that was kind of, they ran a lot of gap power, probably as much, if not more, gap power schemes. And Sark said they were going to do that as they did zone last year. They were top 10 in outside zone rate and outside zone rush yards. So, that's, I think, also kind of a break in tendency. So there were some things that they did. On defense, they played a lot of inverted 3 high, probably as much as Ohio State did. I mean, they threw it out there a ton in this game with Grayson Littleton at nickel or with their 3 safeties. So Texas found a way to break tendency too. So I'm not criticizing the tendency breaker, but I do think there are certain elements that are basically part of your identity as a play caller and that make you special. And I'm not the only one who said this. I mean, I remember Joe Clanton literally saying on the broadcast. Did y'all remember Joe Clanton was like, yeah, there's not a lot of emotions and shifts in there. And I feel like he's missing some of the Sark element. He said it on the broadcast like twice. So I'm not the only one who's observing and watching it. I'm just the only one who's got the numbers actually to back it up. So like I said, he could have been doing that to break tendency, or he could have been saving, or to Coach's point, he could have been saying, you know what, my quarterback ain't ready to handle all that. When he's ready, we'll break. Then we'll unleash the entire Sark offense on the world. But I'm not sure what it is. And at this point, it doesn't matter too much, but just trying to educate ourselves on the circumstance. Terrence says, hey, Rod and Coach Shipley, do you believe all the negative criticism of Arch against Ohio State is fair? Because I don't. Oh, thank you.
I don't either, Terrence. Thanks for that question. Thanks for the super chat. No, I don't. I mean, we talked about it so many times over the last few weeks. It would just literally be impossible for Arch to live up to all the hype and all the, hadn't even started a game on the road yet in college, and he's the Heisman favorite. I mean, I don't think it's fair. I think it's something he's going to have to grow into. But I do think that he's going to have a great career. I think he's a great quarterback. I think this is a great learning experience for him, and everybody goes through that. I mean, Rod, Mark, we've all been through it. Mm-hmm. We've all had those moments where you go, whoa, man, okay, and you learn from those. I'm not saying anything new, but no, Terrence, I don't think it's fair. But you know what? 16 million people care about watching Texas and Ohio State, and 16 million people have opinions, and Arch just needs to focus his attention on the people that really know what's going on behind the scenes, that are going to help him be the quarterback that we all believe he can be.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting, with anything in life, the times in which, you have a negative reaction to something is typically because of an unmet expectation. And all these expectations that were placed upon him, he didn't ask for. I've said multiple times, like, I think people thought when he was saying things at SEC Media Days that this was kind of like he was just so well trained in the Manning way to answer questions. I think he was being honest. I mean, he flat out said he didn't like talking to the media. And he wasn't saying it disrespectfully. Like, he immediately followed up, like, no offense to you guys, but, like, I haven't earned any of this. I understand why it's coming my way, but, like, I just need to go play. And I think people heard that as, you know, like, I'd rather be playing than talking to y'all. And I think he meant it that way. But I think even deeper to it, he meant, I need to get reps. I need more game reps because I just haven't had many, despite, you know, the flashes one way or the other. So anybody that was tuning into that game, part of that 16 million coach, they came into that game with an opinion of Arch, and they were looking for that opinion to be proved one way or the other. I remember as soon as the game ended, I'm getting the alerts, you know, from, you know, walking back to a friend's tailgate and getting alerts from, like, The Athletic, and they already got stories ready. And it's like, starts off like, let's not sugarcoat it. You know, it was bad and all these different things. And it's like, but then they also had one ready, I'm sure, if he had looked amazing. So, you know, you know, Jerry says it every morning, like, they're going to build him up and tear him down every single week. And that's just part of it. And, you know, the only aspect of it that I can quote unquote say fair is, you know, he's making a decent amount of coin, you know, to be the quarterback at Texas. And I imagine it wouldn't even take that for him, right? He just seems like a guy that's wired that way. But at the same time, you know, kind of heavy as the crown, right? I think he's built to handle it. And I think he has the right support around him from his teammates and everybody else. I just think a lot of the noise is just that. And, you know, if he rattles off these next few games looking amazing, you'll have a faction of people saying, look, there's the glimpse. And then you'll have a faction of folks saying, but he couldn't do it against Ohio State. So,
yeah. No, I agree with you guys. I just think, honestly, this moment might be necessary for him.
Absolutely.
And it's all said and done, right? I've been, you know, talked to, I mean, me and Jeff Howell talking about, you know, Texas and where the program is now compared to, you know, where it was when Texas lost to Kansas. And you know, Jeff made a good point. He was like, yeah, you needed to lose to Kansas. Hey, DKW, good to see you, brother. Good to see you in the chat there. He said they needed to, though. You needed that's kind of what help propel the program now going forward. That embarrassing, shameful moment, right? And it was necessary to kind of help Texas, you know, as a program, understand where they were, like, realistically, and, you know, climbing their way out of that dark chasm that they found themselves in as a program, right? And the skills you need to learn and the fortitude you develop and the character that develops from having to make that journey out of the darkness into the light is what makes you a great man. Like, it's going to turn him into a great player and a great person. If he's got, you know, that it quality that we all believe he does, it's actually going to make him better, right? It's the journey actually is going to ultimately give him the like I said, the internal motivation that he needs, like, to propel him forward for a while, because he's a Manning.
Yeah.
Right. He's a Manning. Because you know, so he's always been elevated everywhere. Like, everybody loves a Manning. The struggle, though, there has to be struggle in order for there to be progress. And so this is his struggle now, that he's now got to deal with that moment on that big stage. And then now he's got to grow from it. And I think it's actually going to be part of his, like, the legacy and the story going forward for him.
Last thing I would add, Rod, and I think both you and Coach know this well, I think the other great thing that comes from this is his team will rally around him, right? Yeah. They know that game and the headlines that came out of that game, they didn't lose it solely because of Arch, right? So and he's shown himself to be a team guy and a leader that they all really like. So I think, you know, that is something else that's an extra battery in his teammates' back now to, like, hey, man, we got to lift this guy up. We got to do our part to make sure that it's clear this is a team effort. This wasn't one player, you know, having an off game or, you know, this, that, and the third. Everybody had a hand in it. And there was plenty of opportunity for a number of people to step up and have made that outcome different.
And before we hit some more questions here in the super chats, just throwing it out there really quickly. I watched the game now 3 times because I need to get a life pretty much. But I've watched that game 3 times, and the more I watch it, the less I am, the less freaked out I am about it, and the less anxious I am about the result of Arch, because he looks better the more you go back and watch it. Like I've talked about the straight drop back. The straight drop back, he completed 60% of his passes in straight drop back situations, 7.2 yards per attempt. It looked really good. Texas had averaged 6.6 yards per play when he just dropped straight back. If you exclude RPOs and play action passes and screens, but include sacks and scrambles, he was great in those situations. He was great in the fourth quarter. He had a 91 Pro Football Focus grade in the fourth quarter, 43 Pro Football Focus grade in the first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, when it mattered most, he was excellent. Played his best football. I don't even know if anybody in college football played a better fourth quarter, honestly, than him, based on kind of the Pro Football Focus rating. He did great in his deep ball. Like his deep ball was awesome. Like we thought it was going to be good. It was better than I thought. He drops. He had some NFL throws. Actually, all of his NFL throws were mostly deep balls. the drop in the cover 2 bucket to injuries, the 28-yard 9 route, the seam post to Ryan Wingo. He did a really nice comeback route to Livingstone outside, and all those, by the way, were straight dropbacks too. By the way, just throwing it out there. He's really mobile. He actually is mobile, and it's a weapon. You can weaponize it. Sark tried in the red zone. I think you ran him in the red zone like 4 times in the red zone. So a lot of things we thought would be strengths are assets for him still. And like I said, the more and more I go back and watch it, the better he looks to me. And maybe that's just me, trying to, gloss it over and look at it with an optimistic view. But to me, it looks better. It doesn't look as bad as when we initially watched it. And by the way, Ohio State's defense, guys, man, they had this dude in the blender. Come on now. They were doing all kind of stuff. They were doing false indicators all day long. Like they would basically, there are certain indicators. If you travel across the formation in motion, 90% of the time it's man coverage. 90% of the time.
They were traveling in end zone.
They had that corner travel across the formation. They played cover 2. I think they had a linebacker drop into the flat over there on the other side. Dude, they was spinning the coverage. That's an NFL thing when they spin the coverage. Basically, when everybody in the coverage rotates all at the same time, either right before the snap. Guys in college don't do that very often. They had guys coming from the box to end up dropping all the way to the single high and to the 2 high. It was just they had Caleb Downs in 14 different alignments that I counted. 14 different alignments. 14 different places.
I can imagine. And Coach, I'd be curious, like in all your years of coaching, like how often are you going against a guy that you've never coached against? You have no film of how he's going to use his players. But then on the flip side of the equation, he has all the answers to your test because he's been able to see your offense for years now, right? Like I drastically underestimated the impact of that. And I mean, I know it kind of feels like a softball to a degree, but like you can almost directly attribute it to it taking the offense that long to start figuring it out. They had to get some time back to the locker room to start really addressing what they were seeing for the first time.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks prior to the game, leading up to the game, about the unknown and how Sark needed to have, really a couple, maybe even 3 different game plans and scripts to go from because he didn't know what he was going to see. But the thing that is even that is disturbing to me is, did he give teams that have the athletic personnel in the ballpark of Ohio State, did he give them the blueprint to stop Arch and stop Sark? So that's the tough thing about a game like this is when somebody shines a spotlight on some areas that you weren't ready for, be ready to see it. I mean, you're going to see it. You're going to see those type of coverages, maybe not exactly like that, but you're going to see things that are going to throw him off. And so, again, back to what you said earlier, Rod, I really think this is going to be a game that Arch is going to look back on further in his career and say, that's the game that changed me as a player.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's get to this super chat. Oh, another thing, they played. Remember that penny front that we've talked about, guys? That 5-man face. It's basically 0 technique, 2-3 technique D linemen, and then 2 kind of wide edges on both sides, 5 guys, and then they have a middle linebacker. And they call it a penny front. Vic Fangio is kind of famous for it in the NFL. They ran a lot of it. They ran a lot of that penny front against Texas. And I remember Kyle Van Noy, who played famously for the Patriots and Matt Patricia. He tweeted this out. He watched the game. He said, looks like Matt Patricia, using a similar game plan against Sark, just like 2016 Super Bowl and the 2017 against the Falcons. The Patriots played the Falcons in 2017 when Sark took over as offensive coordinator for Shanahan. And they had just came off the Super Bowl where Shanahan was the OC for the Falcons and Dan Quinn when they had the magical Brady comeback when they were up 23 points or whatever it was. And they used a lot of the 5-man front, that penny front, because it stops the outside zone. It helps you set the edge on the outside zone, gives the D lineman vertical pass up the field to be able to penetrate. And then you can, and by the way, they also use the same thing against Sean McVay in the Super Bowl, a lot of that, because it helps set the edge. And he said, sorry, I should have elaborated on this because I know Kyle Shanahan was the OC in 2016 Super Bowl. I was talking about the diamond front package he used in that game with pressures. He used the same package for the diamond front game plan in 17 in the Super Bowl, obviously against the Rams. And I think he also, they're talking about against the Falcons, but also I think he's also talking that diamond front it's a diamond from the middle linebacker is the point, and then the edges are the other point. So he's talking about that penny front. To coaches, what coaches said about that, they're going to see that again. Not everybody can execute it because not everybody has the personnel that Ohio State does, but they're going to see it again. Yeah. All right, Justin, thank you for the super chat. Sorry that discussion took so long. He said, it didn't seem we ran as much motion last year than Arch played versus Quinn, though I could be wrong, but I think this offense may be similar to the 2022 offense versus last year or 23 thoughts. Last year, they ran, I want to say about 61% overall pre-snap motion last year. It did drop in Arch's first start. I remember that because I remember thinking, oh, they didn't want to put a lot on his plate. And in his second start last year, they kind of went back up to their average, which is usually between 55 and 60%. 2022, I got to go back and check what 2022 was. But you may be right about that. What do you got? What are your thoughts about that, Coach? That this offense may be similar to 2022 versus last year or 23?
Well, yeah, I can see that. And I think there's some validity to that, Justin. Thank you for the super chat. But I think as time goes on through this season, we're going to see more and more of that stuff put on Arch's plate. You know, I think if we don't, then we're doing an injustice to the potential this offense can have, in my opinion, because that is what butters Sark's bread. You know, is that type of movement and motion, misdirection, play action, all those things. So it could have been, it was probably by design last year. It was probably by design on Saturday, but I think you'll see Arch grow into it as the season goes on.
2022 was, I could see that because the running game felt like it was the identity of the offense. And maybe this year, a lot of Longhorn fans feel like Arch is development. A lot of it needs to be, emphasized. So lead with the running game and slowly develop Arch. As you progress through the season, put more and more on his plate that he can handle. By the end of the season, he should be, operating at full capability. I'm at that point now. If their running game it can travel on the road versus Ohio State, and that was not a Fugazi or Fugazi, lead with the running game and let that be the identity of the offense. Yeah, because your defense complements a good running game, and a running game complements a good defense. And you got a hell of a punter now. Now you got a beast mode Baumeister. All right. So let that guy just punt, and you can just win field position, defense, running game, field position, defense, running game, field position, and every now and then let's let Arch do his thing. I know people, that's not what we expected the identity to be, but I don't really give a damn about what we expected. To Marcus's point, I'm just trying to win some games. And I think defense and running game, that's going to win you games right now. Defense, running game, and special teams. We ain't even seen Shipley, but I think he's going to be good too. So that's how we should attack it. All right, let's thank another sponsor before we move on. Let's thank our friends over at Bingham's Bourbon. That's right. Thank you, our friends over at Bingham's Bourbon, being a part of the On Texas football family, created by Grammy and Oscar-winning artist Ryan Bingham. That's right. For years, Ryan turned down offers to just put his name on a bottle. He didn't want to do that. He instead wanted a bourbon that he could be proud of, one that stayed true to his Texas roots and where the music comes from. That's why he built Bingham's from the ground up, a Texas certified whiskey made with 100% Texas grown grains, distilled and aged in the searing Texas climate for a bold, unmistakable flavor. From the hands of local Texas farmers to the barrel to the glass, every drop is a tribute to the land, the craft, and the people who shape it. Bingham's Bourbon, proof that Texas makes a damn good bourbon, available now across Texas. You can find details at binghamspirits.com. That's binghamspirits.com. Thank you very much to our friend Ryan Bingham. He's actually, not gonna lie, he's pretty cool. Now I'm more of a fan, Coach. I saw him on Yellowstone, liked him then, got to talk to him. Now I'm a big fan. So I shout out to Ryan Bingham, man. He's a cool dude. All right, let's get back to, I think we have, another super chat here, I believe. Yes, OG Slingblade. Damn good name. Says, fair to say that Sark left plenty in the bag by design. Cleaner gameplay at critical moments means we win. And also don't put too much on tape. Thoughts? You know, because I hate to just say that about Sark, but that makes sense, OG Slingblade. Because the truth is, if they do play a cleaner game, hell, I mean, they're down 7 with 2 minutes left in the ball. I mean, they play a cleaner game potentially, even on defense. You know, they get a turnover, get more negative plays on defense. That's part of it too. And I think we all thought they would get more negative plays and force a turnover, at least, Coach, on defense. If they get that, you know, here or there, that changes the whole complexion of that matchup. So I think you're right, OG Slingblade. That's where I lean, but I'm on the grassy knoll with that one. You know what I mean? I got no problem with on the grassy knoll. I love the grassy knoll. I'm out there all day, but I don't want to give y'all my conspiracy theories. But that's a damn good one, OG Slingblade. What do you guys' thoughts?
I got the same conspiracy theory, Brent. I think we might be there on the same grassy knoll together, Rod. Like, I'll say this, and I know Sark respects the game so much that, like, it wouldn't come from a place of arrogance, right? In my opinion, when I was watching it and when I've rewatched it, when you see how safe Ohio State was playing it offensively, right? Like, I think there was this element of them both understanding or deciding that they were not going to go all the way in the bag, right? As we've been saying, with young quarterbacks that are inexperienced, rely on their defense, rely on some field position. And man, I just can't get over, like, seeing some videos of Sark, whether it was the immediate presser after or the one on Monday. It wasn't like the game did. I know losing bothers him, right? Like, it bothers any competitor, and especially someone like Sark at such a high level that's kind of overcome the things he's overcome. But there was still, like, this quiet confidence of just, like, it just felt like he was, without saying it, like, we still got a lot to go, fellas. And I think he even said a couple of times, like, we'll probably see these guys again in December, January. So it was almost like I know there's probably some things I could have done to put my guys in a better position there. And in spite of everything, you know, that we've discussed ad nauseum since the game, they still were in it to tie that ball game up right at the end. So, I might be on that same conspiracy that, like, to some degree, at a point, he was like, I think we can win this without all the bells and whistles. And on one of the availabilities, he flat out said he felt, you know, last year they were too cute. So maybe
He did say that. He did say that.
Like I'm going to do a motion, but I'm not going to do all the extra movement and eye candy and stuff. Like, I want to establish a level of physicality that my guys and people understand that it's not about all the tricks and bells and whistles.
Hey, I'm not gonna say, Coach, that Sark is listening to OTF, but how many times did I bring up the fact that on short yardage situations, Sark ran reverses and ending arounds? I'm like, y'all realize you instead of just when you need 2 yards, Sark decided to run a reverse against Georgia, and he's like, I'm not running up against that front, and I got a veteran O-line that's up for the award for the best O-line in the country, and he still didn't want to run straight ahead. He did it against Arizona State, guys. Arizona State, and he made the right decision because they couldn't run the ball versus them either. So my point is, I think that's what he was talking about. He's like, now I'm tired of being cute. Tired of being cute in a situation. I want to run downhill, smack somebody in the damn mouth, and be physical. And he said we're getting back to being physical. I think that's part of them being under center more and all that kind of stuff too. Daniel says defense answered the bell versus Jeremiah Smith again, and see perhaps like Arch much at a less significant position. If Arch is our worry, I'm not. Yeah, I agree. I'm not worried about Arch as much now. I actually feel good about Arch now. I do actually, because like I said, I've identified things that worked for him, and I think that Sark will start building on that. And your defense is just good. Your defense is really good, especially with the Jeremiah Smith thing. So what was his? So what's his total in 2 games now? How many catches did he end up getting? Is it 6 catches total?
5 or 6 total, I think, for like maybe 70 yards or something like that.
Oh yeah, I don't even know if he got to 70. I think he's trying to get. He might be at like 60 or so like that. You're right. He might be right around there, but he wasn't very. Carnell takes the one that hurt Texas in them games. He had 70-some yards received in the first game. In this game, he had the big deep touchdown on Gilbo. Takes the one that did the work. Honestly, against Texas. OG Slingblade says, here's a face to put for your screen name. Rod, we compared wingspans at the H-Town meet and greet. Thanks for all that you guys do. Look, I remember that, OG Slingblade. I do remember the wingspans, no doubt. Hey, well, I appreciate you coming through, obviously, with the Texas tour and hanging out, and also appreciate you supporting us here at OTF.
So who had the best wingspan?
I believe I had the low wingspan, but OG Slingblade, let me know if I'm being, if I'm I don't know, exaggerating here. I think I did, but I'm gonna always say I did. I'm a competitor. I'm gonna always say that. All right, let's thank our last sponsor of the evening. Let's thank our friends over at South Point Dodge before we end tonight's live stream. And we appreciate our friends over at South Point Dodge. You can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Get the real deal today and drive away in the all-new Ram 1500, proven to last. Plus, you get employee incentive pricing. That means you pay what the employees pay right now at South Point Dodge. That means you get the employee discount. You won't find a better deal than that. That's the real deal, and you won't find a better deal than at South Point Dodge. So score big today. You can go see them off of I-35 in South Austin, or go to southpointdodge.com, whether you need a car, truck, trade-in, whether you need something new, something used, whatever you need. Our friends at South Point Dodge are Austin's automotive everything, southpointdodge.com. All right. Thank you guys for all these super chats. I believe we got to all the super chats. Thank you guys for the super chats and the questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. And if we missed any of them and you want us to answer them, you can please direct those questions to the gentleman at Coffee and Football bright and early tomorrow morning. That'll be at 8:15 with Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. And we'll also have our Friday live stream. That's right, at 3 p.m. We're going to be live. Actually from the co-op. So if you're going to be in town hanging out, come join us from the co-op. Always a great time. We love the folks over there. They're very hospitable, and the fans are great too. It's always a party down there too. There's like a happy hour that goes on. They serving drinks. The co-op is not what it used to be. When I used to be at the co-op, there wasn't nobody serving drinks and stuff like that. They got all type of stuff going on there, Marcus. Now it's a party going on there. So we're always having a good time. So they'll be at 3, and you can direct your questions to us as well. Myself, I think Bobby will be on there, as well as Jerry Hamilton too. Also, I want to thank Matthew and Bobby behind the scenes, because Bobby actually behind the scenes is helping us power the live stream tonight. So thanks, Bobby. We appreciate you hanging out. Thank you to all you guys out there for the super chats, and thanks for hanging out. We know a lot of y'all want to get back to watching the game. Damn, Cowboys beating the Eagles. That's interesting. I got to get back on there. I know. See, Marcus is happy now. Y'all Cowboys fans, y'all fall for it every year. You're
No. I'm just peeking, and we're not getting embarrassed. I'm okay, but I still have my expectations properly met.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised.
If they win this game, it's gonna be we them boys. That's all we're gonna do.
Super Bowl predictions and all kind of stuff going on. Yeah. All right. Well, Coach, thank you for all of the wisdom and the levity. Marcus, thanks for all that you do, man. You're a great addition to the OTF. I get nothing but compliments about you being a part of the team now. So great job by Bobby. Got great job recruiting new talent through the transfer portal to OTF. All right. For Bobby and for Coach and for Marcus, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Bavis. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Welcome.